My landline screamed at 2 in the morning, shattering the quiet silence of my dark bedroom. I fumbled for the receiver, expecting a telemarketer, but the voice on the other end was cold, precise, and completely serious. "Mr. Miller, this is Officer Hayes from the County Sheriff's Department," a stern voice said. "We have located your 7-year-old grandson, Leo, wandering near Route 9, and he is safe at our station right now." My heart slammed against my ribs as I threw off the covers and stood up in the dark. "That is impossible, officer," I replied, my voice shaking uncontrollably as I gripped the phone tightly. "Leo is asleep in his bedroom right now, right where he belongs." The officer paused for a long second before telling me to check the room, insisting the boy they had matched my grandson in every single detail, including his age and birthmark. I marched down the hallway and pushed open the bedroom door with my chest tightening. Safe under his blue blanket, my grandson was sleeping soundly, breathing softly in the dim glow of his nightlight. I looked back at the phone, completely baffled, and whispered that Leo was right here in front of me. The officer cleared his throat nervously and said I needed to come down immediately because the boy in his office claimed to be Leo, too. I quickly dressed Leo, loaded him into the truck, and drove down the empty highway in total disbelief. 2 years ago, my daughter passed away, leaving me to raise her only son all by myself. My ex-son-in-law, Arthur, had walked out long before that, leaving his cold mother, Brenda, to handle his messy affairs. I believed I knew every single detail about my small family, but that dark highway was leading me toward a truth I was never prepared for. When we walked into the brightly lit police station, the front desk officer gasped out loud. She motioned us toward a back room without saying a word, her eyes wide with visible shock. Inside sat a small boy wearing an oversized jacket, clutching a warm paper cup with small trembling hands. When he turned his head toward us, my knees nearly buckled because his face was identical to the sleeping child resting against my shoulder. My grandson woke up, rubbed his eyes, and stared directly at the strange boy sitting across the room. "Grandpa, why does that boy have my face?" he asked in a quiet, confused voice that echoed through the small space. Officer Hayes stepped between us and explained that this child was found walking alone along the highway at midnight. When they checked his information, an old missing child report filed by Brenda Vance flagged in their computer system. The officer gently explained that 7 years ago, my late daughter had actually given birth to identical twin boys. Without my daughter fully understanding what was happening, I stared at the paperwork in total shock because I had never authorized a missing person report in my life. The officer gently explained that 7 years ago, my late daughter had actually given birth to identical twin boys. Without my daughter fully understanding what was happening in her exhausted state, Brenda had arranged a secret, off-the-books adoption for the second baby. They named him Toby, and he had been raised in secret just 30 miles away. The weight of that sudden realization hit me like a physical blow, making it difficult to breathe properly. I remembered how withdrawn my daughter had seemed right after giving birth, constantly staring out the window with tear-filled eyes. I had assumed it was just exhaustion from being a new mother, never imagining that a piece of her family had been stolen away. Brenda had taken control of everything, convincing herself that my daughter could never handle raising 2 babies alone. Officer Hayes summoned Brenda to the station, and she arrived just as the sun began to rise over the horizon. She looked frail and terrified, her sweater buttoned incorrectly as she walked into the small interrogation room. The moment she saw both boys sitting side by side, her composure completely shattered and she began to cry. "I thought I was doing what was best for everyone back then," Brenda sobbed, hiding her face in her trembling hands. I stood up and demanded to know how she could separate 2 brothers and rob my daughter of her child. "You had no right to play God with my family," I told her, my voice trembling with deep anger and sorrow. She confessed that raising Toby alone had become too difficult as she grew older, leading to frequent arguments in her home. 2 nights ago, after a harsh argument, young Toby ran away into the night to find the brother he secretly knew existed. An hour later, my former son-in-law, Arthur, walked through the doors looking utterly ashamed of himself. I confronted him immediately in the lobby, demanding to know how he could let his own mother hide his son for 7 long years. He stumbled over his words, claiming he was simply too afraid and young to stand up to his mother back then. His weak excuses meant nothing to me after learning how much damage his silence had caused to everyone involved. Looking at those 2 young boys holding hands on the station bench changed everything inside my heart instantly. The legal battle ahead would certainly be long and painful, but I knew what I had to do next. I promised myself right then and there that I would fight with everything I had to keep both brothers together under one roof. They deserved a real family, a safe home, and a grandfather who would love them equally for the rest of his life.